Welcome back to the Opposition Podcast number 24. It's been a while. I've just got back from the United States of America with a wide smile, Rukshan.
Why are you smiling? Is it the reason that I'm wearing this beautiful t-shirt?
Why are you wearing that t-shirt?
I don't know.
Yes,
Why else?
it is the reason you're wearing that t-shirt. It's certainly been an exciting month. It was hard, it was long, and I got to tell you at the end, if it would have gone any other way, this is the best it could have gone. If it would have gone any other way, I probably wouldn't be here smiling.
Well, you had been saying for months that it's definitely Trump. So you'd been predicting, and so many people would have had those screenshots lined up on election night, ready to go. Look, Avi, you loser, ha ha ha.
I literally, I know, and
Even I was ready for that.
I know you're one of those people. I was literally waiting. I was bracing myself to the walk of shame, but I knew it. I knew it in my gut. I was traveling the country. It wasn't just me being hopeful. I was talking to everyone, and no one knows me there, and yeah. I knew it. Anyways, this is not just about my trip to America as much as I love to talk about myself, Rukshan. Firstly, I want to apologize to all 1,714 of you tuned in on whatever platforms you're on now that we ran late. Unfortunately, there has been some news in the last hour since announcing that since promoting that Pauline Hanson is going to join us here tonight. Unfortunately, she was hit by the wild storms and her power is out. And because of where she lives, she relies on the Starlink, which needs power. I learnt that traveling America. So she has promised us she's going to come back next week from Parliament. And we got somebody in her place tonight. We were racking our brains in 5 minutes before. Who looks most like Pauline Hanson? And welcome to the show, Pauline.
Good evening, guys. So to clarify,
good evening, Leon. Everyone's going to be disappointed, mate.
To our audience, that I am not Pauline Hanson, and I'd like to apologise for disappointing everyone, because everyone had very high expectations going in, and I've got very big shoes to fill at being called in at the last moment.
Well, we appreciate you coming in on the last moment. And yeah, again, to everyone who's tuning in, it was unfortunately, I know if you're on Twitter, you've probably heard that the Jews control the weather, but it turns out that we shot ourselves in the foot this week, and Pauline her power is knocked out, so she'll be joining us next week. But we have a full show, and everything's a bit hectic because I've got a lot of angry comments coming through. People are
really?
not. People
some
are
of those
not.
comments on the screen.
I am. I'm trying. I'll get the comments up as well. I'm just getting things sorted here on my end, and so in the meantime, Rukshan, how has the last month been here in Australia?
Yeah, so you haven't been here in Australia, and I think a lot of us in Australia, we've actually been following what's happening in the US. So in some way, we've been, following your journey there as well, and keeping tabs on what you've been covering in the US. And I think a lot of us have been anticipating the last week, especially. A lot of us who have been following this very closely over the last couple of years have kind of seen the writing on the wall in terms of Trump getting up and all of these things happening. So it's not a surprise to us. It's just whether it was, there was going to be any drama come election night, and to see it, to see Trump win in such a convincing way where there's almost no doubt, to sweep the House, the Senate, all the swing states. I mean, it is a tremendous political comeback. It's one of the greatest political victories of all time. And I know a lot of people want to, diss him and say that he's all these things, but there is no other politician that I can think of in the Western Hemisphere who could have dealt with the things that Donald Trump dealt with over the past few years. All the lawfare, or the searches of his house, all this kind of nonsense that we've seen and to actually come out on top victorious. Like if this was some type of Democratic, nominee that did this, they would be, saying that this is like the next JFK and like just lauding on them right now, right, giving him the Nobel Peace Prize in terms of what Trump has achieved. So I think it's been a very, for us conservatives, especially in Australia, those of us who support the MAGA movement as well, it's been a great couple of days, and it just keeps going, right, Avi? Like if you've been watching, and Leon, if you've been watching every day, like there's some new announcement, there's some new person that's been appointed. So it's like this train that just the Trump train that just keeps going through with all these new awesome announcements, and every day there's a big smile on my face, and that's why I'm wearing this great T-shirt here, "Make America Great Again." And I know it pisses a lot of people off, but I do not care.
Well, I actually think we should. I guess, Leon, firstly, what was your reaction to that result?
I wasn't overly surprised. I was surprised by the landslide, the gap between, like, he was a resounding victory. What else took me by surprise? I mean, like I said, wasn't surprised that he won, was the fact that the Democrats didn't put up a lot of opposition this time. And what really came out of left field and unexpectedly was some talking heads on the left, on CNN, were actually doing introspection. And they were criticizing the Democrats and themselves for being out of touch with the population. And that really was unexpected, at least for me. And that's a big contrast to what happened last time, where they, in my opinion, and a lot of people would probably share my view, they actually rigged the elections.
Let's be careful what we say on this live feed. We're not going to jump into any.
A way to approach this is, the question that's been asked very eloquently by a lot of people during this time is, the votes that Biden got last time and the votes that Obama got last time, especially the votes that Biden got last time against Trump in the last election, what happened to those, 10, 15 million votes? Where are they this time? Because they seem to be missing. So, I mean, if you're someone that's going to, put two and two together, there are all types of, theories one could come up with, and a lot of things that are credible that matches up with a lot of the complaints that the Trump campaign had during the last 2020 election, when we had all these type of anomalies that, we couldn't really answer for. And they put that all down to COVID, right? They said all these mail-in ballots had to come. It was COVID. It was crazy. So this is kind of how we had to do it. And they changed all these laws. And now you're seeing that when you don't have all those conditions there, it's very hard for them. And, one of the sayings of the Trump campaign was, it's, this time it's going to be too big to rig. That was very openly said by the Trump campaign. And I'm not saying, there was rigging definitely last time, whatever.
No one on this panel is saying that anything was rigged ever.
No, but
because this is being
algorithm.
Because this is currently airing on YouTube and Facebook.
No, definitely, US elections are the most safest, greatest, best elections in any type of Western democracy in the world. The US elections, there's never any issues whatsoever.
But does this seriously give you some faith back in the fact that this one was clearly fair? Or do you not?
It's not even that. Yeah, I don't think it's really that. I think there's still issues that we see around election time in the US. Weirdly, like this voter ID things and just how things happen. Like it's very suspicious. Like the polling places being closed, and these things are still kind of happening on that day.
I can't believe this guy doesn't know your name.
We were getting news about those things, right? But for whatever reason, the turnout was so massive and the swing towards Trump was so decisive that, it makes it look like a very... this is what you kind of want in an election. You want to have the result on the night. And I think that was one of the biggest problems last time when you went to bed, you didn't know who the president was technically, because everything, the betting markets paused. Everything was like all over the place. But this time it actually felt like this is kind of how an election in a Western democracy, at least, should kind of be, where there is a winner. Even though, Kamala didn't concede graciously on the night, we still knew that, the news knew, everyone knew that Trump had smashed it out of the park that night.
In 2016, Trump also won a resounding victory, but if you can recall, I mean, who can forget this? The left, the Democrats, put up a very big fight. This time, hardly any resistance.
Go on. What were you going to say, Rukshan?
No, I was going to say, I think they kind of painted themselves into the corner, right? So in 2020, they became this like, oh, the elections are always perfect. There's no rigging. The US elections are the best elections in the world. So how could they now turn around and be like, hey, the system's broken. This is flawed. This is that. They've painted themselves into this corner even where they can't even, they look like massive hypocrites. So you've seen them really concede and talk about transfer of power. Like that's their thing. Like, hey, we're the adults. We transfer power peacefully. We don't question elections and stuff like this. But that's because this time it was decisive. Last time it was not decisive. No one knew what the hell happened.
And
right?
I know you joked about it before, but I was calling it everywhere.
Yeah.
And even American, like on Tim Pool, nobody at the table wanted to say. Everyone obviously wanted Trump to win. They weren't. They were vocal about that, but nobody wanted to put their name to the prediction. And I'd been traveling. Like, to be fair, they hadn't. I'd been traveling through the United States and talking to the average person. There was a mood for Trump. There was so much support for him. Not necessarily, like, that's what I was saying to them. Not necessarily by people that vote, but the general mood was pro-Trump. So I just didn't see how it was going to go any other way. Again, for people tuning in, Pauline Hanson has been hit by a storm. Her power's out. So we've got, I've just gone with Jew Wallon. Do you have a better one? Like a name?
Call me Coffee. Kofy.
That's got nothing to do with Pauline.
But I can do a Pauline Hanson impersonation.
Hey, but Coffee, does your camera tilt down at all, Coffee?
Yeah,
does your camera tilt down?
Depends.
Oh no, you're stuck like that.
But you're just not centered.
You're just like, we're just seeing more of the space above you.
Yeah, we don't want to see the space. He's trying to make us see God above.
Don't go too low.
Don't go too low. This is not that kind of show.
You're right. Do
one of those.
Now I got to say, let's start with. So we said reactions on the night. Chuck it on the screen share one. Oh, there we go. I've just got to enjoy the fact that I was there. It was the moment of my life. That's when they called it.
The crowd going crazy.
How short are you?
I'm tiny. No, everyone's just really tall there.
Yeah, man.
That was when he walked out.
Yeah.
That was... And forget about him. I told the cameraman just pan to me. Forget about Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Come down. This is when I was getting angry at him. I'm like, that's too much time on Trump.
So you were there. Like this is a pivotal moment in history for the world, really.
And
you were there. What was that? What was that like? Like, what was the atmosphere, the build-up, and obviously Trump coming out after all of that? What was
there we go.
Like in the
Really
room?
historic moment here.
It was insane, to be honest. It was like literally. You got to remember, the beginning of the night at the watch party, people came in nervous. They were confident that they were gonna that Trump should win, but a lot of people had PTSD from the year before. People were nervous, and then by that point, which was 2 a.m., that was 2 a.m., and it was about the time where in 2020 they'd stopped the count. And so people were saying, and it wasn't called yet. Like, it was called maybe 20 minutes, so 1:40, I think, is when Fox News called it. That's what you saw on the screen. And we could see the flashes in the back. Trump was in the back and he was getting ready to come out. The energy in there it was epic. Like, in fact, right next to us was a group of Aussies. There were a lot of Aussies there. They were buying us beers as we were waiting for Trump to come out. What I don't show you on camera is how drunk me and the cameraman actually were. Because these Aussies were just buying us beers. But forget about like my reaction. It was epic in the room. I want to come back to the reaction from what do they call it? Trump derangement syndrome. Here in Australia.
Here we go.
In Australia, okay.
Yeah, let's go to Australia. Bring the screen back on, Benji. Let's go to our favourite lunatic.
This character.
Let's bring that up.
If you're a woman in Australia and you think the US election doesn't affect us, just know they now have permission to be outwardly sexist and support a rapist. Just know that. In your heart, know that they now have permission. They now think they are the majority, and they're so uneducated that they think that because they're the majority, they are right. They now have permission to be racist, transphobic. They have permission to laugh about our reproductive health and our
No, we're just laughing at you, you nutcase.
Yeah.
reproductive freedoms. Australia follows suit when it comes to America.
Yes, it does.
The amount of abuse
Inshallah.
I've copped online, even in the past 12 hours, from men saying the most horrifically sexist things, thinking that it's funny. This is what Andrew Tate has laid the pathway for. This is what people like Joe Rogan do.
Oh,
They are
they're
now
so bitter,
allowed to
man.
say the quiet part out loud. And we're going to cop it.
I mean, elections have consequences, of course. Like last time the Democrats won and people who are conservatives, we didn't react. I don't remember seeing, conservative women reacting like this and, blaming all types of people. She draws in Andrew Tate. She draws in Joe Rogan. It's like, how
They
many
just
celebrities
do
are on the other
exactly
side?
what-
It's just nuts.
They
right?
do exactly what we expect them to do. They behave exactly how we would expect them. What do you reckon?
And the other thing, before it's cut you in, Leon, but I don't anticipate when I go outside. I don't see Australian women reacting the way that she's reacting. No one is reacting like her. It's just all these people on social media having meltdowns for attention who are reacting like this. And she should probably know better not to react like this, because at the end of the day, it's not the real, gist of how Australians are reacting to this election. In fact, most people have just moved on with their lives. Like,
That's
it
right.
doesn't have the impact that she's trying to say that it has here, because it doesn't even have that impact in America, really. It's just these left-wing lunatics in America losing their mind as well. So I don't know why the Trump derangement syndrome has made it all the way to Australia.
Michael makes
Leon?
Michael makes a good point. Who doesn't happen to know your name? So this is Rukshan Fernando, the wedding photographer, and Leon in the middle. But he makes a good point, because clapping is, I think, cultural appropriation. Anyways,
I mean,
go
the way
on,
she
Leon.
clapped, yeah.
Well, I think, look, she wasn't necessarily doing it for attention. I mean, the feelings that she was expressing were genuine, but what we witnessed was just mental derangement. And TikTok, like you said, Rukshan, it doesn't represent the mainstream view. TikTok is not real life. Social media is not real life. And we have a small clique of people, mostly celebrities, ironically privileged white people, who are having these types of meltdowns. And essentially, she needs to get help. And I'm not being facetious. I do really think that people like her need to get urgent help.
Yeah.
I think Roseanne makes a good point. Well, the Australian media, in fact, the entire time we're talking such nonsense. I did 3AW Tom Elliott's show while I was on the trip. He was asking, I think he's one of the most, I've got a couple of clips of his coming up, or radio cuts later in the show, but he's probably the most level-headed person in Victorian media at the moment. But he was questioning, his own colleagues, going, I feel like they're all betting on Kamala winning, and it just doesn't seem right. So they called me up and had me on to kind of to get a feel for, to understand what's actually happening on the ground. And I, like I did on every American show, I'm like, dude, Trump's gonna win. And I got to be honest, I was a little bit nervous the night before, Rukshan. I was a little bit nervous.
Yeah, no, well, that's the thing, right? If I think if Australians have been consuming Australian media leading up to this election, let's say not Twitter, I'm just saying just watching, Channel 9, ABC.
Yeah.
Let's say ABC, because I watched Q&A. You probably started this episode, but Patricia Cavalis, she had a panel the week before the election of all just anti-Trump, left-wing, just like libtards, for lack of a better word. And they were all literally just predicting a Kamala win, bashing Trump, saying all the things like, he had a Madison Square Garden rally, it's a Nazi rally, all this kind of nonsense feeding to Australians. And they did not have one opposing voice that could say, hey, looking at all the data that we're seeing online, looking at all the sentiment, looking at the movement of these type of influential people like Elon Musk and Joe Rogan towards the Trump camp, it looks like Trump is moving in a different direction, a direction of victory at least. The ABC could not even give Australians that alternative view. They had to give the Australians this delusion that Kamala Harris was somehow going to win this thing. And it makes absolutely no sense in Australia for us to have just one-sided view of this, like, one-sided view of the democratic view of American politics. It doesn't affect us in that manner. Like, we can look at both sides. And I think the public broadcaster was just like painting this one narrative. It makes sense that perhaps ordinary Australians who are just consuming ABC, which someone just called communist rubbish, and I think, yes, it should be defunded because it is wasting taxpayer money to just spread propaganda and lies to Australians. It's complete rubbish because there was no way any reasonable person could have looked at what was going to happen and just predict a straight out Kamala win. It was just not that clear.
It wasn't that clear from the polls, even from their polls, but anyone that was in the States. Honestly, the night before I got a little bit worried because I think in Florida there was because they were so pro-Trump, everyone that was there, it was almost like it was too good to be true. And so they were like, it's no way going to happen. It wasn't based on anything besides for that. Everyone was saying Trump, but the people were kind of like, nah, it's too good to be true that we're going to get out of this lunatic, lefty, woke administration.
What do you think is going to happen? We're in a situation now where potentially Australia and the United States could have a diplomatic crisis because of
well, we were going to get onto we were stop skipping ahead, Pauline. You need to relax. We're going to get onto that. I was going to ask you first, so we're lining up for that. But good on you. Firstly, what do you think about the picks so far? Trump's picks.
Myself or Leon?
Both of you.
The right people are getting triggered, so we're on the right path. Go on, Rukshan.
Look, it's we kind of lack this in Australia, so we're seeing this presidential system in America working out in this way where Trump can come in to power, right? And he's bringing the best and brightest minds in the country to actually help the country and serve as a part of the presidential team, right? So, which country can, really do those kind of things without a leader like Trump, right? To bring in Elon Musk, right? To bring on someone like a Vivek Ramaswamy. These kind of influential business people, they've achieved so much outside of politics as well. And to have that in your corner when you're trying to fix the nation, it's so powerful. Like, this guy is literally sending, rockets to space that land back by themselves. And I know he's the leader of the company and there's engineers behind it, but he is the visionary behind a lot of these things. So this is the guy in the corner for you. So you think of someone that's able to just say, yes, I'm going to have Elon Musk, I'm going to have Vivek Ramaswamy on the, the Department of Government Efficiency, right? To cut government spending. You don't see that kind of stuff, transformative things happening ever in the way that Trump is doing it right now. And the speed at which he's moving and the people that he's putting in there who are, I would say, are loyalists. They're loyal to Trump in the sense that they're conservatives. They believe in the same... They believe in the same type of things that Trump believes in, like Matt Gaetz, for instance, that he's put as the Attorney General. Like, that is the type of person that you need to clean out the rot of the last 4 years and to change the direction of what that country's been going through in the justice system. So I think he's making the right picks. The Fox News guys, I forget his name, Pete Hegsworth. Like, that is completely... I was watching Fox News and I saw them pick... I saw them pick a Fox News host as the defense minister. But when you actually look into Pete's career as a military person in his service to the country, in his work with veterans, in the fact that he is someone who is a patriot, that is the type of person that you want leading that type of ministry, right? The Ministry of Defense. And what do we get under Biden? We got these people who are confused about who they are. Perhaps sometimes we had the health minister who was like a transgender man, and I'm not saying anything's wrong with that, but it was just all over the place. There was the people that didn't have a vision for the country. And what I'm seeing with Trump's picks is people that actually have a vision, that care for the country, that love the country, and are ready to do their part for the country. So I think he's making some amazing picks, and he's obviously rewarding the people that have stood by him and help spread his message as well during the campaign. So it is what it is, but I think it's good.
I feel like he's learnt, and I've said this a few times, I feel like he's learnt from his mistakes. I feel like he's off to a much better start. He's picking people that are good for each job. I'm actually just trying to find a specific tweet of his, which I just felt was so beautiful about his new position. and he's so I feel like the fact that firstly he came into it the first time with zero experience in politics. He relied heavily on the Republican machine. Then he got screwed over. No matter what you believe about 2020, he got screwed over by a lot of those people, and he was not president for 4 years. Gave him a long time to kind of reconsider his positions and all that. And then he comes back, and in the meantime, he got shot. He's had a few attempts on his life. Like all these humbling kind of experiences or situations or things that have happened to him. And I feel like he's so much more prepared now to actually do it. And on top of it, I feel like, unlike last time, I think the first term, you're always also thinking about the second term. You've got to think about American politics. Like 2 years into it, you've got 2 years of campaigning, essentially. But now we're going to get 4 years of Trump, experienced Trump in that position, so he knows how it all operates. He's had 4 years off to really, drill down in what he wants and what he'll do. The best thing for somebody, when you've been through a toxic relationship, the best thing for you is separation, and not being in a relationship for a bit to realize what it is you expect from a relationship. I think that's what we're going to get from Trump now. And that's what we're seeing already. And he's off to such a good start. I really want to find that tweet, just because I think it's hilarious. But, even my reaction seeing how people who are so-called, I'll look for it as you guys are talking in a minute. But my reactions have been, I literally posted a reaction here. That put the screen on, Benji. Like I posted this one, my reaction. Oh, it's big, so you can't say. Like it's literally like this is what I got. This is my reaction. I actually got it off it was off our synagogue's in our synagogue's WhatsApp. Somebody wrote basically that, and I'm like, I'm just stealing that, and it went off. 56,000 people liked that because so many people, it resonates with people. The idea of like, holy crap, each pick is so amazing. Like this pick here. I love that. This like I don't care what you think about Rubio. This is great. It is triggering. Well, this is great, and it's also
triggering the right people.
It's triggering all the right people, and I think he's going to be fantastic in the job here. Watch this one.
Senator Rubio, will you call for ceasefire?
No, I will not. On the contrary.
Rubio,
are you filming it?
Wait,
I want you guys to get this. I want them to destroy every element of Hamas they can get their hands on. These people are vicious animals who did horrifying crimes. And I hope you guys post that.
And what about the civilians that are being killed every day?
Hamas should stop hiding behind civilians, putting civilians in the way. Hamas knew that this was going to lead to this. So Hamas has stopped building their military installations underneath hospitals.
So you don't care that 15,000 have died? You don't care about the babies that are being killed every day?
I think it's horrifying. I think it's terrible, and I think Hamas is 100% to blame. That's what I think. Make sure you post that, please.
Senator Rubio, will you call for...
It just thinking that guy now is going to be the Secretary of State.
He's definitely getting confirmed, right? He's popular with both sides of government, and he's someone that's viewed as one of Trump's best picks in the sense of there's not going to be no opposition really. Anyone's going to mount to him being confirmed as the Secretary of State. So
it is upsetting.
Yeah, and I think there's also Mike Huckabee, who's the ambassador to Israel.
But I think ambassador plays a much less, like generally when you have an ambassador.
Is it ambassador or something else? But whatever it is, like ambassadors. Okay, so there is a lot of kind of pro America first, pro Israel people that Trump have put into this campaign.
And Jason Hinkle will disagree with you.
Huh?
Jason Hinkle,
Jackson
Hinkle.
Okay. Well, I mean, from what I know, from what these guys have said over a countless number of years on this issue, they are very much pro-America.
No. I think what he's saying, what Leon's trying to say, is that he'll disagree with you that this is a good thing. The self-described communist mugger, which was always going to be you're going to have that conflict at some point, but I just don't get what a lot of these nut jobs, whether it's communist, like self-proclaimed communist Iranian supporter Jackson Hinkle, or the new woke right anti-Semites of
Nick Fuentes.
Nick Fuentes and Jake Shields, who, like, Nick Fuentes went on a rampage of disendorsing and a campaign against Trump, and then when Trump won and realized how irrelevant they are, they kind of backpedaled and tried to say like it was all by design. They purposely did it so that the left couldn't use it against them. But now they're back to saying, I told you so, I tried to warn you. They can't handle it. Like, the fact is, Trump has been consistent the whole time. If you haven't been paying attention, that's on you. Trump's been consistent. There is a reason why Trump got the largest Jewish vote in a very long time. Jews traditionally are Democrats. It's a shameful thing. And there's reasons for why so much of the Jewish community, and when you're talking about the Jewish community, you're talking about the more progressive, non-religious Jewish community. The Orthodox Jewish community, from what the numbers I saw that they produced, was like 78% voted for Trump.
I think it'll be higher than that.
Yeah, I don't know exactly. How do you react to all that, Leon? Being an Orthodox Jew yourself.
Well, like I said, look, I'm not surprised that Orthodox Jews overwhelmingly voted and supported Trump. I'm surprised at 78%. I would have thought it would be in the late 90s. But hardly surprised. But like I said, all the right people are getting triggered by the appointments, by the win, both on the left and on the woke right. So we've got this new movement on the right that's actually starting to resemble the left. And there's almost no difference between the two. But there you've got a clip.
This is what I was going to show. Is like, yeah. So this was at the Madison Square Garden, the infamous Madison Square Garden rally that Trump had like a week before the election, and I went down there, and it was the one that the media like tried to compare it to the pro-Nazi rally like 85 years ago, I think it was. Was it? Yeah. Was that right? And
probably, yeah.
Yeah, and like it was the most insane thing for anyone that was actually there and could see. There were so many Jews. It was like to label it that was so offensive.
But before you play this clip, Harvey, I want to know. I want to say that's when I kind of knew that they're losing so badly, that they've gotten so desperate that they're pulling out these ridiculous comparisons just because someone spoke at the same venue that someone else spoke at. When multiple Democratic presidential nominees and presidents have spoken at that venue, there's been all sorts of concerts and other conferences at that venue. It's a very well-used venue in New York. So you can't just say, hey, just because the conservatives are there, it's like a Nazi rally from back then. And they were just showing these comparisons, right, between the footage from the past and Hitler, and they were showing the Trump rally, and it was just ridiculous. And the media had completely lost the plot at that point, and they're just gone all out, hey, let's just go with this whole Nazi thing. I think that's the only thing that we have left in our war chest to go after Trump, and it was just ridiculous. So this clip here should open up a lot of Australians' eyes as to actually the amount and the number of Jews that were actually there supporting him both outside and inside the actual venue as well. Play the clip, man.
Yeah. And this week we were told by the Democrats that Trump is a Nazi. What are you guys doing in line waiting to see a Nazi?
Right here. So the fact that they're saying that shows the ignorance on what they think. It is complete disgrace. They have no right to say that. Trump did nothing wrong. He's a good guy. He supports the Jewish community. He supports Israel, not like the other side, all talk, but they do not do the walk. It's about time we get law, order, peace, stability in this country, and we bring the world to a safer place. Trump 2024. USA! 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 My voice is gone, but this is unbelievable. The vibe over here, a combo should be something. Celebrities means nothing. Beyonce comes, doesn't want to sing. This is where it's at to be. Like we said, it's red. Texas one more kid of color. Red, hot, ready to roll. Red, hot, ready to roll. Let's go. That's the mentality. We are going to take back the White House in a matter of 8 days, I think it is. 8 days. We are taking back the White House. Trump 2024, baby.
So, like, and that's the thing. Like when I filmed that was in the line. That was probably 5 hours before the rally. That was just after they labeled him a Nazi. That's why I was asking. I was walking, and that was just like one group. We quickly got that out. Like in the full video, you could see how many Jews were actually there. Like ultra-Orthodox Jews. And probably, like the last two elections, ultra-Orthodox Jews, especially in the last election, probably still voted, certainly higher than the rest of the Jewish population. But here they were not only voting, they were going out to rally for him. In fact, you just saw how packed New York Street was for people wanting to outwardly show their support for Donald Trump, which was something that was unbelievable in New York, which is a blue state.
Yeah, and thanks to places like what the work that you're doing at Rebel News and what Elon Musk was doing with X and all the independent journalists that were showing this, and there's so many people seeing this, like sharing this amongst friends. And I think one thing that Elon Musk always says now is make sure you share these links during the election with your friends and family, because the news and the media are not showing them this. They're showing them the completely opposite fake narrative that they've concocted in their own minds about these Nazis and, everyone should be afraid and stuff. And there you saw so many people from the Jewish community outside chanting for Trump. And to label something like that as a Nazi rally shows you just how dangerous the media can be and just how manipulative they are when it comes to elections in the US. So definitely, I think getting on-the-ground news like this and reporting like this really changes the game. And I think a lot of people just dismissed all that, nonsense that was reporting in the media as just laughable.
Usually in politics, when one side uses such great lengths to resort to such ad hominem attacks and uses labels like Nazis, it's a sign that they're projecting. There's a good reason why the Orthodox Jews, observant Jews, any Jew that cares about Judaism, Israel, America, went out in force to rally for Trump was because the Democrats posed an existential threat, not just to the United States, but to the Jewish community. With their pro-Iran stance, their pro-Muslim Brotherhood stance, the anti-American position, and anti-Semitism skyrocketed across all Democratic-controlled states and cities. Jews were openly attacked in broad daylight, and this is something unprecedented in the history of the United States. So hence the reason why they all came into force to support and back Donald Trump.
And I can see in the comments people already jumping ahead. So let's watch this Kevin Rudd.
That's
the United States in the last 4 years has been run by a village idiot.
A village idiot. And then we could add some more. Google is your friend.
With President Trump, depending on which day of the week you were talking to President Trump and how his biorhythms were performing on that day and the nature of his diet, then who could guess during the craziness of the Trump administration?
Anyways, there's that, and then he deleted. He cleared his Twitter. He scrubbed his Twitter. He scrubbed his Twitter of all the nasty things he had to say about Trump.
He said. Yeah.
And it's just wild to me. How do you firstly feel about it?
Me?
You?
Yeah.
Both of you. Do you feel
Kevin Rudd?
Yep.
Kevin Rudd, like he is. I don't even know why he's in that role in the first place, to be completely honest. When it comes to representing Australia, I think it's very clear that this guy has his own agenda. He does his own thing. He's always had his own views. He's very strong in promoting those views, and he's not someone really that's like a neutral ambassador for the interests of Australia. It's really for his interest and Labor's interest. And people can say that, okay, that's fine. That's just how politics is. But when it comes to something like this, the fact that he doesn't have the class to be able to hold back on some of these type of comments, when it's more than possible that he might be dealing with a Republican or a future Trump presidency, he just doesn't have the forward vision to see this, right? And now that we're in this position where we have this, idiotic village idiot as our ambassador to the US, and we have Trump, who is ultimately, from the most powerful country in the world, one of our biggest allies. We depend on them for so many things, and there's a history of our ambassador insulting him, and now we also have our prime minister backing up this ambassador. So I think it is embarrassing for Australia. I think it weakens us in our relationship with Trump, because I can very well see Trump in a live interview with like Albo, if you visited him or something, out in the public dissing Kevin Rudd and saying, hey, remember what your ambassador said about me? That's the kind of things that Trump says. And that's very embarrassing for Australia. So I don't know why Albo wants to find himself in this position, because I feel like this is something that Trump could actually do just to kind of put these people in their place. And I see it happening, actually, even with a tweet, maybe.
Well, Leon, do you have something
The
to add?
scary thing is that Kevin Rudd, I called him your mate at the start because you actually interviewed him. You ran into him at Davos, and surprisingly, he receives you really well. This is a guy who's got a reputation for having a short temper.
Do you know, I walked away from that because I was thinking, and then I thought, how did I not ask him about the one thing? Because I saw this coming. I saw this coming, and I just, it's very hard in Davos, and I look forward to Davos 2025 because there are going to be a lot of triggered elitists in the Swiss Alps that I'm going to get to talk to. But when I saw Rudd, I didn't get a chance to I just didn't think of it in that moment, and I was like, I walked away, and I was actually looking for him. Benji, you were there, yeah? Yeah. We were hunting for him after, weren't we? Because I walked away and I had that moment, oh my God, I should ask him about Trump because he said all these things. Is he going to...
But you did ask his friend Forrest
about it. Did I ask his friend Forrest about Trump, about Rudd? Yeah. What did Forrest answer that?
No, he said, you should go ask him.
Yeah, all right, there you go, Forrest. Yeah, and it's Wiggy. Yeah, I did ask him because I got desperate. I couldn't find Rudd again.
Another sellout.
Yeah. But what we've got up on screen is actually one of Trump's
campaign's team,
advisors, who is just who's just been given what was he? He's a senior advisor, but I think today Trump has selected him for senior staff position, and he's just putting the timer.
When did he post this? November 7th.
But not, in all seriousness, I just think it's untenable. Like he cannot, his job is to essentially advocate for Australia. If Kevin Rudd, if Donald Trump, no matter what you feel about Donald Trump, if he looks at Kevin Rudd with disdain, which he clearly does, then we as Australians are not in the best position. We are not putting our best foot forward. We are not being advocated by somebody who can advocate for us fairly and with the best of his ability, because he cannot. He just can't. Trump is going to feel how he feels every time. So if he wants to punish Rudd, he's going to punish us. And
That's right.
You know, if somebody calls you a village idiot for years and puts you down and calls you all sorts of names, especially somebody like Trump, he's going to remember, and that is going to affect the way he treats Australia. So Rudd needs to get out of the way, in my opinion, just for the sake of Australia, for our sake, because there are tariffs coming. There are different things that we need negotiated, and the last person that I think can negotiate in our best interest right now is the guy that has been bagging Trump out.
But I thought Albo would get rid of him, because we got Albo on the record saying also, our Prime Minister in Australia on the record saying that he's shit scared of Trump. I mean, these are the kind of comments that these people have made, and I think they really mean those things as well, especially Kevin Rudd. He truly despises Donald Trump. He hates the guy. He completely disagrees with him on so many things. That's why he openly says those things about him. So to think that he's now changed his spots and he's like, I want to keep my job and I can do this, and Albo's like, yes, I put my support behind him. It's just ridiculous. Like, just send someone else there. Just get this over and done with. Call this guy back. Call back our village idiot from America. Put him somewhere else. Send him over some other country. Send him somewhere that he likes, whatever, because he obviously likes this lifestyle. And just send someone else to America, because it's our most important relationship. And in the next 4 years, Donald Trump is going to be setting the world agenda, and Australia really has to be, a part of that agenda, in the sense of, working with America on things that benefit this country as well. So I don't think you can necessarily do that with someone like Kevin Rudd there. They say that he can, and he can be diplomatic and all these kind of things, but I just think it just doesn't look right. We look silly.
Not at all.
We're going to pivot over to a completely different subject that's important in Australia. I just cut off. There we go. You're welcome to join us back.
We're still talking about Albanese.
Yeah, so I was obviously Pauline was supposed to be on tonight, so I had a lot lined up, prepared for her because I reckon today she was inundated. So we set up yesterday. I was just thinking, what campaign should we set up for this important issue? So we obviously have this misinformation and disinformation bill. Currently, it has passed the lower house, going through the upper house, through the Senate, and there's not much more we can do besides for pressure senators. So, with the rebel infrastructure, I built a form that allows people, so it's at killthebill.com.au, and it allows you, essentially, you click it, you put in your postal address, 3183, let's go there, Balaclava. I'm just doing the Jewish neighborhood for you, mate.
Don't dox me.
Yeah, I'm doxing you. And then you submit, right, and it literally, it tells you essentially who your senators are, and then it's basically preps an email to them. So Babette's on there because Victoria. I think these are the 12 Victorian or whatever it is. And we've pre-written an email in there. Please kill the misinformation, disinformation bill. And like the person doing this can either edit this or just confirm and put their name and basically it lets the senator know how much support. I couldn't believe though, and that's what I was going to ask Pauline today, because we hit, I think, almost 20,000. 20,000 people filled that in.
That's cool.
That means senators across the country. I want to check with Pauline if that's what really knocked out her power. Was it just the amount of emails? But seriously, how are you feeling about this? You guys, I guess you're not senators.
It was a sneaky thing, right? Because we were watching the U.S. election, and then I started seeing all these tweets pop up that, hey, they're discussing the misinformation bill, right? So the day that most of Australia is concentrating on what's happening in the U.S. because of whatever reasons, they're trying to sneak through this thing in the Parliament, the lower house, or whatever. And so it was very interesting, the timing, but that's just, I think that it was all probably pre-planned. It feels like that anyway.
Yeah, 100%.
But look, we've talked about this many times, Avi, and I've always said that this thing is disastrous. It protects, the biggest perpetrators of misinformation, and we've seen them spread all types of misinformation during this election campaign, even in the US when they don't have to. So imagine them with the consent now of these laws kind of protecting them, while the rest of us are targeted by the rest of the ordinary Australian population, independent journalists, YouTubers, podcasters. All of us are, hamstringed by this thing that they could just say, hey, we don't like what you're saying, and censor you, or bring something up against you, whatever it is. It doesn't matter, because we don't know how much they're going to expand these things in the future, right? So it's problematic, and it's also problematic in this kind of post-Trump era that we're kind of having, this new Trump era, where you have the guy that Australia's been going after on this issue, Elon Musk, on X. He's a part of the Trump team now.
Oh, it's brilliant, isn't it?
It's crazy, right? And we got this Australian government saying that they're going to sanction all these.
But did you hear what they said? You hear what they said? The new Trump administration, Vance, is saying to Europe. Did you hear his warning?
Is he saying to play ball with us? Don't censor. What's he saying?
I
didn't hear.
So basically, sorry, I've just got a message that Pauline's house is also actually flooded, so she's definitely not, because I did say come into the...
It's flooded. Wow. So it's a massive storm in Queensland.
It's a massive storm there. Guys, she'll be with us next week, but our thoughts are with her because, gosh, that's got to be a difficult thing. I know that she's probably more upset about not being on this podcast tonight than her house flooding. But in a serious note, Pauline, we're thinking of you. Vance told...
Look, Sean, they're doing this for the safety of the children.
Let me pull up what Vance said. I'll actually pull it up. You guys have a little bit of a chat, and I will find what Vance said.
I'm trying to protect, Albanese is very concerned about child safety.
Nah, look, I think there's two things to this. One of the things is obviously the rise of independent media. The rise
by the way, I wasn't being serious.
I know.
In case anyone...
I know. I'm just saying, one of the things is a rise of social media in terms of an information sharing platform, No longer are people turning to what the people on the news tell them, right? No longer are people listening to these talking heads and opinion givers. No longer are people listening to celebrities anymore, right? People are just going to
control
online.
Of the narrative.
Yeah, they're talking amongst themselves. They're finding communities, right? And yes, lots of things are being debated, and sometimes people get things wrong. But those things are hashed out online, and that's kind of how it should be, right? The town square. And X has a great thing for this with community notes, and these discussions get had. And we didn't really have this kind of crazy misinformation that they're talking about that happened during the U.S. election. That didn't really happen, right? It happened last time in 2020 when the left-wing people were in charge of X. They shut down the Hunter Biden laptop story. They did all types of nonsense during that time, right? So this time there wasn't any misinformation on X, really, the way that they're talking about that changed the outcome of election to the extent that it might have done in 2020. So I think the reason that especially these kind of left-wing governments in Australia, it's also like our conservative government, the Liberal Party, who's also kind of, they got their fingers in this in some way, even though they try to distance themselves.
That's
I think the reason is
they
want to be able to push through their policies.
Are we going to see any blowback
that
if
might
you
be
and President
unpopular?
Trump take office?
Yeah. So they want to be able to push through those policies, like we saw that during the COVID era, where they kind of didn't really have full control of the consensus of the public because people were able to share alternative views, and they try to stamp that down. So they want to ensure that next time that happens, they don't run into that situation. They have policy and laws and regulations to help them shut people down. That's the first thing. And I think the second thing really is what a lot of people have raised concerns about is really around this whole thing about digital identity. Now, that's a massive thing in Australia. So if you shut down, we have also the misinformation bill. We have the kids being disallowed from social media under a certain age, I think 16. So when you put all these things together in the way the world's moving forward, and the restrictions which are kind of being placed on these social media companies by governments to act on this particular regulations, they're going to have to come up with a way to verify people. And it's going to be a digital system. So it's all kind of converging into this dystopian world that we all keep talking about, 1984. And I know people laugh at people for bringing this up, but we're all kind of converging. All these laws all around the world is coming to this, this apex, this point where it's going to become a thing. And, next time, before you know it, the next time you want to log into, Instagram or whatever, you got to verify your face on your phone when you sign up, right? And the government's going to have that on their database. Like, that is how they're going to do it, because how else can you, be so strict and create these kind of rules and laws around what type of age and, what type of identity of people can access what type of service without having these systems. Yeah, so it's all by design.
They're using a 16-year-old under 16 as an excuse, essentially.
Yeah, definitely. And I think Australia is a really easy place to push this kind of thing through.
Exactly.
Right? It's so easy. Like the way that we saw the state premiers in our country get behind this push to ban kids under 16 off social media, the way that you saw the Liberal Party come up and the Labor Party come up pretty much in unison on the issue, shows you that there's certain things, even if they're politically, maybe opposition to that in terms of their ideological thinking, in Australia at least, they'll come together to push these type of things through on the population. So
that's quite terrifying.
Again, thank God for Donald Trump. Thank God for people like Elon Musk who have, spent so much money buying platforms like X to actually change the game, right? To actually change the balance of power in this thing, and maybe change the direction of the world, or maybe at least slow it down temporarily. So it's I just read that comment. Sorry.
Yeah, so for those that are confused, Pauline Hanson has been hit by a storm. Her power was out. Her house is flooded. So she's going to join us next week.
What have you got against bearded guys?
I know. And for those that are assuming Pauline's gender, shame on you. Let me play this clip for JD Vance that I was talking. I found. I think it's this one.
Are we going to see any blowback if you and President Trump take office about all of the censorship that happened before? Yeah. Mark Zuckerberg just released that letter saying, "Oh, I fell to victim to the FBI pressuring me to censor." Are we going to see any repercussions for people that censored?
Yes, we're going to fire the people who censored. We're going to fire the people who were telling Mark Zuckerberg and all the other technology companies that they needed to censor. Fire the 50 intelligence operatives who said that the Hunter Biden laptop was Russian disinformation. A lot of those people still have security clearances. Strip every single one of those people of their security clearances. Fire every single person. You cannot lie. Take your position of public trust and lie to the American people for political purposes. It's disgraceful, and people have to suffer consequences for it. Now, the other thing is we've got to be willing to use American soft power to promote a free speech society. So you talk about Brazil. The leader, I forget exactly which official it was within the European Union, but sent Elon this threatening letter that basically said, we're going to arrest you if you platform Donald Trump, who, by the way, is the likely next president of the United States. So what America should be saying is, if NATO wants us to continue supporting them, and NATO wants us to continue to be a good participant in this military alliance, why don't you respect American values and respect free speech? Excuse me, it's insane that we would support a military alliance if that military alliance isn't going to be pro-free speech. I think we can do both, but we've got to say American power comes with certain strings attached. One of those is respect free speech, especially in our European allies. Like, look, I'm not going to go to some backwoods country and tell them how to live their lives, but European countries should theoretically share American values, especially about some very basic things like free speech.
I love this guy. Honestly, I don't know. Whoever wasn't sure about him before, he is the best. He is so good, on point, smart, articulated, to the point, doesn't hold back, consistent, everything. The guy is going to be unbelievable. He's going to be an amazing vice president. And then my prediction is next president, because there's going to be a good 4 years. And
8 years of JD Vance. That's
exactly. We've got a lot more to see of him, and unbelievable and just on point. Like it's absolutely.
Yeah, that's great what he said about like soft power, like, using the power that the US has for good in this space around changing the direction where free speech is being censored all around the world. I think the US. They are the leaders. A lot of the Western countries. I know he didn't mention Australia. He mentioned Europe specifically, but I think Australia.
But it means, we're going to be straight into that.
Yeah,
that's what I love about this.
So it's great. I think it will kind of change that direction and trajectory. And
now
hopefully,
now Elon is part of government.
Mobile, a small little border town on the border of Papua New Guinea and Indonesian-occupied Papua.
needs to happen.
And I'm holding a bomb.
What's happening?
It was dropped just a few kilometers from here in Indonesia-occupied Papua in a town called Kiwi Rock.
We got to sack the e-safety commissioner, because I think a lot of this is her doing. The communications minister we have in this country, Michelle Rawlins. I don't know if you heard Ben Fordham in the morning today.
I've lost count of the amount of times I've been threatened to be sued for defamation over the 10 years I've done this YouTube channel. Out of the countless defamation threats, the only person that was stupid enough to go through with it was John Barilaro.
Is it off?
That's stopped now.
There we go. My bad.
Yeah, we had the communications minister on Ben Fordham in New South Wales, and she was actually stumped by him because she made some comments that were technically misinformation based on comments that the e-safety commissioner had said, and he actually showed the issues with this kind of disinformation bill, where politicians are making false statements. Other politicians are either denying or confirming those false statements, and the public themselves need to be in the same position as them to be able to robustly argue our point and our case when it comes to these type of issues. Because if they can censor us, if they can shut down our speech, and if they can control independent media, then we're no longer free to speak our minds and free to challenge these people the way that we should be. They should not be getting a free pass, because can you imagine how much worse it would have been in this country if they had the disinformation bill in 2020, 2021, 2022 during COVID, at the height of COVID. I can't. They would have probably locked you up somehow. I would have been locked up somehow as well, right? They would have.
We would have been sharing a cell.
Yeah, sharing a cell, Facebook and X and all these platforms would have just stripped our social media profiles.
Would you drop the soap next to me?
No, I would ask for a solitary confinement rather than be in that type of situation. So look, I think it's very dangerous, and I implore anyone to actually get involved in contacting their local members of government, senators who can actually impact this. I know there's a lot of independent senators, perhaps, or these kind of renegades that might go with the government, but I am hearing there's a bit of opposition to this as well. So hopefully it doesn't pass through the Senate and it gets scrapped.
Guys, we have made it easy. You don't have to look for everyone. You don't even have to use the emails that's there. It's just a system. Just killthebill.com.au. It finds your local senators where you're the constituent, and email them in your own words if you want, or if you're lazy, it takes less than 20 seconds to do it. Trust me, the more they see, the more emails they get from the more people in their local area, the more likely they are to vote against it. So, and we need to. You know, one of the things that really bothered me in Trump's last term was I felt like he didn't do enough to fight. Like, he talked about it, but he never did. Never practically did anything. And I do feel that it has to do with the fact that he was surrounded by bad people.
He was shackled.
Yeah. Whereas this time, you know, they're literally. I think feels like a lot more like draining the swamp.
He's been through everything. He's been through everything firsthand, right? They deleted, they removed the account of the President of the United States of America.
That's right.
These social media companies, right? They don't remove, Khomeini or whatever from Iran.
Oh, here it is.
Like they have all these people on there, but they remove the President of the USA, the country that they operate from. These companies were out of control. So
this is what I was looking for. This is what I was looking for. So he was like, Elizabeth Warren writes, the Office of Government Efficiency is off to a great start with split leadership, 2 people to do the work of one. Yeah, it really seems efficient. And like for a second, I had a little bit. I'm like, oh, that's pretty funny, like that. It does seem slightly inefficient to have two people, and they're worried. They are worried by this idea that you've got 2 people now in government. You're talking about Elon Musk in particular. Like, he went to Twitter, and I love how on ABC or last night on The Project I saw they're going, oh, the guy that stuffed up Twitter so badly is now in charge of the government. I'm sure that's going to end well. It's like anyone that actually uses Twitter, except for the only people crying about the way X operates today is the mainstream media, because he took away all their power. He's given it back to the people, and it is such a better platform. And every day as a user, like as a proper user, not somebody that's come in because I'm on TV and I get to pretend like I'm important because I got my blue tick and now I can engage with who I want. From a proper user, it is so much better. There are still problems with it. It is way better than what it was. Good. And and the use is up. And the money it's making,
it's the number one news source in so many countries, right?
And now, and it's making more money than it was before. Yeah. And it's like on every metric, it is doing better, except for the mainstream media's perspective. Anyway, so
wait. Well, you got to also pull up. Did you see The Guardian today?
What did they?
On topic.
Oh, that was awesome.
Type in The Guardian and Twitter on the search.
Right? Oh yeah.
This is funny. Everyone has to see this, because this is the perfect example of the media now throwing a temper tantrum because they've lost.
They've
complete control. Beautiful. They've lost it all.
The Guardian is no longer.
Don't let the door hit you on the way out.
They want money from us, not for sale.
Get off turn their grift off.
Yeah, The Guardian. Why The Guardian is no longer posting on X? It's like immediately there is a certain percentage of less fake news on X.
I know, it's getting better already.
It literally no one cares. Everyone is celebrating. When I saw this news, I celebrated. So
yeah,
here we go.
Self-censoring now, so that's good.
Amazing. So
hopefully the ABC will follow.
Yeah, they can all. Well, I remember they announced something at some point. I don't know what happened. A bunch of people.
That was Patricia.
Patricia, she moved over to Threads because Threads
she
was
said, she said, I'm done with Twitter. I've left. I'm going to Threads. I'm not coming back. Beautiful. And about a month later, she came back, and now she posts on there all the time. She's so full of crap.
And I remember she wrote on it, she's coming back because people have asked.
People have asked her.
Sure. It happened on that 24 hours where Threads was supposed to take down X, and the media was pumping it out. They were calling it, the most download app. The most signed up to app in history.
Yeah, because they forced you.
No, yeah, they left out. They they said it was the wording was something like the fastest signed up app in history, right? But they left out the piece of information that if you had an Instagram account, you automatically signed up to a Threads account. You just have to press one button. So, and then she was like, "Yeah, we're going over there." And she saw, like most lefties, that it became an echo chamber for the left, and everyone was really just on X. And she came crawling back like many of them, but blamed it on her supporters. She said,
audience.
Yeah, audience. She said, some people are asking for the video. So she just kind of came back. Benji, come back on the screen here. So his response to this, which at first glance seemed kind of funny, was... no, some of these other responses are pretty funny. I did not even see that. But Elon writes, "Unlike you, neither of us are being paid, so it's very efficient indeed." And I love how they have already have a page.
The department, so he's already set it up with the .gov.
Yeah, and it's like
good way to provide his cryptocurrency.
Yeah, his crypto. But I just feel like
on all fronts.
I feel like the next 4 years.
So they're doing it for free.
For free. Like I was actually wondering. I was wondering, what would they do with
Oprah's a billionaire, but she took a bit of money from
a million. No, she said she didn't. Sorry, we don't want to.
Trump doesn't take a salary either. In his last term, he donated his presidential salary.
But I thought he's broke. The people, like all the people I met from the Kamala side that were like hard Dems, were telling me that he's bankrupt and he's like they just live in this alternative world where
in this little bubble.
Yeah, it's wild. Is that she's the one that was a native? That's right. Yeah, she was. She had to apologize for being a native.
Native American.
0.015%. American Indian or whatever, and Trump calls her Pocahontas. So it's just hilarious.
I reckon we pivot over onto another subject just so we keep it moving. Here we go. So Christmas is under attack. Now, this was, again, I was going to bring Pauline Hanson was going to react to this, but I guess we're as good as Pauline. We get a Jew and a... Oh, you're a Christian, aren't you? You grew up Christian, Rukshan?
Yes, I am a Roman Catholic.
Because we're not sure. Oh, you're Roman Catholic. Yeah, because we're not sure with your type. You could be like Hindu or Buddhist, or what else goes on in your?
Oh, there's so many: Hindu, Buddhism, Sikhism, Islam. So Muslim.
I was gonna but what's the main ones in Sri Lanka?
Hinduism.
Hinduism.
Oh, in Sri Lanka, it's Buddhism.
Buddhism. So what is Hindu? What is Hindu? Oh, were you talking about India?
India, yeah, just South Asia.
Did you just like accept that you're Indian now because I call you that all the time? Is that
accept that? Well, yeah, I just accept. I've just accepted that people call me Indian. It's just what it is.
So yeah, okay. So you're Catholic. So Christmas is clearly under attack this year. There's two stories here, and both that Tom ran, I think today. I don't know which one. Oh, this is the pro-Palestinian one. Let's just have a listen. So essentially, the pro-Palestinian, the pro-Hamas, anti-Israel group that's been protesting for a year, disrupting everything in the city, have now vowed this weekend to disrupt. They're calling it disrupt the unveiling of the Maya Christmas windows.
These people are shameless.
So I'll just play it from in middle from where I think is relevant.
Well, when you say you want to interrupt the fun and joy, well, I'm only going on what's written here. Crash the Christmas windows, and that implies crashing into the Christmas windows and maybe breaking them.
No, Tom. That's what you're saying, and if that's what you're trying to suggest, then I would ask you not to actually paint a picture of protesters in that way, because that's not who we are.
Okay.
Don't confuse the pro-Hamas people of acting out on acts of terror, because that is very unlike the pro-Hamas kind of crowd. Anyways, that wasn't the point. I just had to have a laugh at her.
Now, you say you want to interrupt the joy that Maya is seeking to provide, but I mean, we're talking little kids here. Their parents have to be taking them out, the lead up till Christmas to go and look at the Maya Christmas windows. Like when I was a kid, we did it. My daughter, when she was little, she absolutely loved it. There'll be possibly hundreds of kids queuing up. Do you really want to interrupt their joy? Do you think that's a good thing to do?
Yes.
Why?
Because so far we have officially over 20,000 Palestinian children murdered, and perhaps Australian children have a right to know that our government are allowing, facilitating, funding, participating in this genocide.
Amy, these are little kids. These are little kids. They don't understand these things.
My little kid will be at the protest as well, Tom. Many other little kids will be at the protest.
Yeah, but your little kid is at the protest because Mummy, that's you, has said we're going to a protest. They don't really understand what's going on.
No, they do actually. My child and many of the children that attend the protest, actually most of them, are highly educated on what is actually happening in the world.
Yeah, okay. Well, but why do you think that your protest trumps the right of the little kids outside the Myer Christmas windows to enjoy those Christmas windows?
Why do those children have more rights to enjoy Christmas than the children in Palestine?
Well, because there's no war going on here, and there's no war going on here because
you get the gist of it.
That's the first time I'm hearing this. Yeah,
that's the first time you're hearing. You didn't hear it today.
I didn't hear it, but that's kind of horrendous. Like, of course, Australian kids have, there's a reason. They're Australian kids. Yes, the parts of what she said maybe you can apply to kids knowing about things happening in the world. Fine, whatever. But these are Australian kids. The kids here in this country who come from all parts of the world, who are Australian, do not need to suffer. That is the privilege of living in this country, and that is the reason that we have, gone through so much effort, so much history from the ancestors in this country to people who have fought in wars, so that in the West, in countries like Australia, our children can grow up in peace, enjoy things like Christmas and other religious festivities and holidays that they do. So to hijack these type of events, which are really for children, for families, they're family outings. It's not an appropriate place. It's not like protesting in front of Parliament House or in front of a minister's office. You're deliberately targeting family events that have nothing to do with war or anything. It's about people just letting their hair down. Maybe it's a religious thing or whatever. Just enjoying being a part of this Australian life where it is peaceful for us. Yes, we are privileged. Yes, we don't have these problems, but we don't need to bring those problems to the faces of Australian kids when they're there to enjoy something like that, because they don't understand. As much as this lady believes that they do understand, they don't. They don't understand this. They're very young. They're living in a different world, right? They're different to adults. Let them go there and enjoy this fantasy of Christmas or whatever. They for God's sake, they sit on Santa's lap and they think Santa is real. A lot of these kids, they're enjoying that part of their life, and they'll never get that time back, right? And the last thing that these kids should be seeing at something like that is what these people are planning to do, whatever it is. So I think it's horrific that people are being subjected to this, and that they're so openly saying that they'll do these type of things. And again, the thing that these groups miss all the time when they do these things is they're actually damaging their movement more and more than they can ever think. They're having a positive impact by educating people. They're actually damaging their movement, and the whole message of what they're trying to say is being lost. So it actually diminishes their movement. It diminishes our country as a whole. And, unfortunately, in this instance, it also diminishes the spirit of Christmas, which is just, crazy. Really.
It's outrageous. And I don't know. I'm not a Christian. We do celebrate Christmas in our house, though, because why not? It's another opportunity to spend with the family, the kids. Kids love it. The kids, it's all about the kids. And this nutcase is taken away from the kids because somehow she thinks that the kids here shouldn't be able to celebrate because in Palestine there's kids suffering. It's wild. Leon, what do you think?
Let's be clear about this. Let's be clear. So, Rukshan, you say that it diminishes their cause. The thing is, these people lack self-awareness. They're motivated by pure hatred. There's a lot of conflicts out there in the world. A lot of people getting killed, especially in sectarian conflicts in Muslim countries, and more people get killed in sectarian conflicts in Muslim countries. Yet you don't see them ripping their hair out. These protests have been organised by an organisation called APAN under the Australian Palestine Network, under a guy called Nasser Mashni. And these people are motivated. They hate Australia. It's not my opinion, it's a fact. Nasser Mashni and other Palestinian activists have quite clearly said that they hate Australia. Nasser, I'm not going to swear, but he called Australia, he used a very crass term, an S-hole. He believes that Australia has no right to exist. He continually calls it a colony. On Australia Day, these activists were protesting, calling Australia Invasion Day. So they're not just, as you can see, they're going after Christmas. It's clearly not just about Jews. They want to destroy Western society, and people in the wider community need to wake up. What starts with the Jews doesn't end with the Jews.
It's an interesting point you make, because I think in one of the videos I got coming ahead, it's not about even here. I think it's the Canada one, but it's the same thing. They call it, a colonized. They do hate Australia. They make the same arguments, but I just think it's outrageous, and I think they're doing their own cause, as evil as their cause I believe is. They're doing a massive disservice. That's why I'm like, good on you. Show Australians what you're really about. But the funny thing is, Tom does push her a bit more on that, going, do you think you're actually converting anyone by doing this? And she's so deluded. She says yes. It's wild.
Let's not forget they disrupted Christmas events last year as well. It's not the first time that they're doing this.
Was this Carols by Candlelight that they
That's right.
crashed?
And multiple events. Not Carols was the big one, but they disrupted multiple events on Christmas Day and Christmas Eve.
I do find in Western countries there's this tendency to disrupt Christian events.
Exactly.
A lot. For some reason, every other Diwali or Ramadan and all these kind of things are
they never do it.
And you can't do anything around those times. But Christmas events, things to do with Christians, carols singing at the Carols by Candlelight or the Maya Christmas windows, these type of things. We can bring our political causes here. We can do this, and you just have to accept it as a tolerant society that we can ruin your religious festivities and the feelings that you have in your community around Western traditions. Like we can crap all over them. But if you were to do it at Diwali or Ramadan or something like this, it would be the height of hypocrisy when they just kind of come on and say how offended it is for people to be disrupting something like that. So. And I know the Maya windows are not. The Maya windows aren't necessarily a fully religious type thing.
They're not at all.
Commercial thing, right? It's very commercial.
But it's very Melbourne
in this aspect. Yeah, it's very Melbourne commercial. The commercial thing, but it's for children. It's for young families and children to go there, line up, and you look at these pretty things in the windows. Like it's a decades old tradition that people have done, and to make it a place of protest, I think again. We've said it many times, does a disservice to their cause, but it's actually a disgraceful act.
It doesn't do a disservice. I don't think it does a disservice. It literally shows the average Aussie what their cause is really about.
And we saw that with a busker. There was an incident, if you can recall, with a busker a few weeks ago, where they were having their regular Sunday protest, and the busker was doing his thing. He was making a living, and they came out of nowhere, led by Hashtaya with a few hundred people. And Hashtaya started to harass him. And then Hashtaya said, we come in peace. We are a peaceful movement. As soon as he said that, the activists started to vandalize the buskers' property. And that incident sums up the entire pro-Palestine, pro-Hamas movement.
100%. So that's not the only thing that's attacking Christmas. Christmas, again, is under attack under another bizarre plan for Melbourne. So I'm skipping it to this part of the conversation. So essentially, you sent this to me actually, Rukshan, because I missed this one. They want to make gay Christmas in Melbourne. So this is Tom Elliott again. He's been doing some great work lately. He interviewed the newly elected or re-elected Lord Mayor about the plan for gay Christmas. I want you to think about what that means. Gay Christmas. Whether you do it like me because it's almost an Aussie thing, and a way to spend time with the children in a fun kind of commercial way. Fine, but it obviously has its Christian roots, and now you're going to make it gay. Let's listen.
As many Melburnians as possible celebrating this wonderful time of the year. It's a part of modern Melbourne. Again, I don't think it takes away from the traditional Christian Christmas. For myself, Tom, I'll be there at St Patrick's Cathedral on Christmas Day with my family. That's a really important thing in our year. But I'll also be celebrating Christmas in other ways as well. I'll be doing plenty of shopping, buying gifts. I'll be going along to many of these activations around the city. It's all part of us being a diverse, inclusive, welcoming, friendly city, a live and let live.
Such a diverse city.
So could we look forward to a gay Ramadan next year?
Well,
that makes your point.
Wants to come to me with a proposal about that, I'd have an open mind. I mean, I've just come to an election.
All right, every viewer, anybody listening to this, please go send the Lord Mayor of Melbourne a proposal for a gay Ramadan. I want this to happen. I will attend. Let's do it. Why not?
We need a gay Diwali as well. We need to keep the diversity up.
But I like Diwali. With Diwali, I don't know how Diwali would feel about
the first one will put a target on your back.
Yeah, I want to see the Lord Mayor actually go and do a gay Ramadan or whatever. Was it Ramadan he was talking about? I think he was saying Ramadan. Yeah. A gay Ramadan.
It's like ridiculous. This whole thing's ridiculous because Christmas is inclusive anyway.
Yes,
it's all about being inclusive. Like in modern Western society in Australia, Christmas is something for everyone. Like there's nothing restricting people from celebrating Christmas the way they want to do. And going down this path of having these sheltered, these almost like separate events for different sectors of the community, it actually draws people in the opposite direction. So it's crazy that we've moved and into this phase in this country where everything seems to be about just there's a class of victims that means a separate thing to feel safe and happy because they don't want to do it with everyone else, and apparently that's being inclusive.
Many Muslims have tried to convert me, or they call it revert me. Dude, you want me at Ramadan? There's a Ramadan I would attend. Lord Mayor Melbourne's gay Ramadan. Let's hear
Tom, and one of the guys running there was Jamal Hakim. He's a self-described queer Arab. Well, that's a good, I welcome that. That's great. That's modern Melbourne. We are a live and let live city.
And maybe what about atheist Easter next autumn? Could we do that for people who don't believe in God or Christ or any sort of religion, have their own special Easter celebration?
Tom's a point.
Tom, I mean, you're an atheist, and I hope you'll be celebrating Easter next year. I hope all Melburnians celebrate Easter because it's a great festival. It's a great opportunity for us to get together with our families, with our friends, celebrate our common humanity, and also it's a particularly special time for our Christian community, and it's an opportunity for us to all stand in solidarity with them and celebrate Easter.
All right, thank you for your time, Nick.
Enough said. I think.
Well, I mean, not enough said because how much is this crap costing us, right?
All right.
At the end of the day,
yeah. Well, no, I think he was saying that it was sponsored by some gay group. I do think that there. Okay, when it's sponsored by some group, I'm sure that the city of Melbourne is subsidising it. So I do think it's probably costing Melbourne something, but. Even if it's not costing, it is just such a weird thing to do. Why are you doing that? And why is it only Christianity you're willing to mock like that? Why wouldn't you do that? You wouldn't do that to a Jewish holiday. You wouldn't do it to a Muslim holiday. You wouldn't do it to anyone else. You wouldn't take a religious event of any group and take something that clearly goes against the religion, whether you agree with it or not, whatever. I have gay friends, but I actually have a gay brother. But No, but it's irrelevant. Like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how you feel about that. Clearly, Christianity doesn't accept it. And to so many people, it is an important day. It is a holy day. It is a religious thing. And you're going to take their religion and you're going to kind of mock them. And the reason why I'd say you're doing something wrong is because you wouldn't do it to anyone else. He can easily claim he would do it for Ramadan, but he won't. He won't.
He's being a politician.
You guys email him tonight and proposals, offer to pay for it. He will not. We could raise the money. I could crowdfund that game, but I don't want my name on it at all because I know how that stuff ends. I know how that ends. I know how that mob plays. I don't want no part in it because that's an offensive act. And just like you wouldn't do it to them, you shouldn't be doing that to Christians.
Just because Christians are not violent, that's not a good excuse to do that and to mock their faith and beliefs.
Okay. We've got a couple of last things to pivot over. There was no real order to tonight because we got thrown by the fact that, again, our thoughts are with Pauline tonight, by the fact that she was knocked out of this for the Storm. She'll be back on. For those that join us late, she'll be on next week instead. Hopefully she's okay. So the Storm knocked out her power when she first got in touch with us about 20 minutes before the show. But since then we've also found out that her house is flooded. So I really hope she's all right. So I'll just jump back on the screen. There's a couple of highlight moments that I think from America were short, fun things from my trip across America, and you can watch them all from at rvacrossamerica.com. All the videos are up there, but this was one of my favorite moments, Rukshan, and I actually wanted to show it to Pauline because you remember what Pauline was like known for back in the days, and I think she would have loved this lady. Have a watch. This was about a day or two before the actual election in Miami, Miami Beach, Miami Beach is kind of a blue spot. I was expecting to bump into a lot of Democrats, but Trump or Harris?
Trump. 100%.
Why?
Trump, because his policy is just so good for us. We don't want communists. We live in a communist country. We know exactly what they're doing. Harris and Team Tampon, not for us.
God bless this one.
She's like the female version of that guy you interviewed in Hong Kong.
Yeah, Chinese asshole. Donald Trump, don't trust China. I just love it, and I love when it's just so natural.
She's on point.
Yeah, on point.
Yeah.
Bang, and the fact, the Tim Tampon was just a cherry on top, and especially because she did it backwards, because I think they were calling him Tampon Tim, and she went Tim Tampon, but she said it without pausing, it just came out, and it wasn't I wasn't even asking her. I'd ask what I imagine was, I think it was maybe her mother in the wheelchair and her son-in-law or something, but it looked like a family, and she was just so excited to answer it, and it was just brilliant. And it's true though. The true point here that we saw, Rukshan, during COVID, is that people that come from communist countries, they were the first to reject things like that, or COVID. When they saw the writing on the wall, they were they came out to the streets, and I would ask them, "Why are you here?" They go, "I escaped communism. I escaped this tyranny. I could see what's happening here." And same as here.
Yeah. Because I think those people, of course, like she said, they've seen it, they've been through it, so they don't have to, they don't have to make reasons and excuses in their mind and decipher what they're seeing. They understand it; it's very clear. So, like you said, during that time, I remember running to so many people from Eastern European countries, from the old Soviet bloc, and they've all had this kind of experience, and they're out there, and every time they say to me is, "We've seen this before. We know what this is." And that lady was a perfect example of that, definitely.
Okay, back to screen, mate. This was my other favourite moment. This was actually early on in Hollywood. And this was so she was talking about Trump supporters and why they're so evil.
My sister is trans, and she, it's like when someone's talking about something that directly affects you and they have no skin in the game. None, nada, zero. Like, you know, it's different.
How do you feel about Israel and Palestine?
I mean, I don't think the genocide in Gaza is good.
Do you have skin in the game?
Well, like, that's like a little bit of a different issue, though. Like, we're talking about like the health.
No, but I'm just trying to make the point here. So you're upset. You're
about a foreign war, and I'm talking about people's health care.
I'm talking about people's lives. So my mother lives in Israel. My sister, my brother. You have a really strong opinion about Israel. I'm applying your same argument back at you. You don't know what you're talking about. You've got no skin in the game, and
I'm okay.
Okay. You see how that works? Funny how her logic only applies to her political foes. Imagine my shock.
That was
a classic. I think that went viral.
That one
I saw that everywhere.
It did.
Yeah, that one went viral. A couple of them like that. Those short moments went viral, but like it was just so beautiful because as she was talking, I was like, you're so unaware of your own, you know, behavior that everything you will put onto somebody else is actually you. It's a mirror. And the left is, you know, they love that word projection, and it is so true about them. Okay, I won't bore you with more of my little clips as much as I love watching myself. Guys, if you want to watch, there's a heap of them all at aviacrossamerica.com. It was a great trip. I enjoyed most of it. It was tough, like being stuck in an RV for a month. You know how precious I am, Rukshan, yeah? You've travelled with me.
Yes, it's not easy to do. And I actually missed this trip, so there's good and bad parts to missing the trip in my opinion. So
what are the bad parts?
Well, missing out on being at Mar-a-Lago, during that Trump thing, wherever that was. You know, I could have been in the room with you, but the good things is I didn't get to spend that close proximity to you in an RV traveling, because even in a hotel room, it's very difficult. RV doesn't understand some boundaries sometimes. I think traveling with him, it's you would if you can think of the most difficult travel person in the world is possibly RV Ebony.
100%, and like this RV that we got was like, it was barely an RV for two people, and there was three of us, three guys in this RV, and like every night I had to fold after, like we would film, drive 5 hours generally, like on average 4 or 5 hours a day, film, edit, produce, publish, and drive to the next, like over 2 days that's what you were doing. It was insane. And then at night when you just couldn't be bothered already anymore, I had to lift my table out and unfold my bed that had like little wooden slats in it that broke my back. I'm not built for this anymore. Like when I was 18 and in the army, fine. I wasn't built for this. I was like, I need showers and toilets and like, oh God, it was hard, but it was so much to get from it. And I got to see so much of America that I've never seen. You got to talk to real people. I really got to form that opinion, that prediction that I made that Trump was going to win from actually talking to real people. So as hard as it was, like, I'm glad I did it. I don't know if I would sign up to an RV trip again. It was painful.
By the way, one of my favorite interviews that you did was with that couple, one left wing, one right wing, and they had an argument right as you were interviewing them.
Yeah, that was
awesome.
That was wild how it unfolded in front of me. Like I said, you guys can watch them all, like the proper videos at aviacrossamerica.com. That one didn't go, like I thought that would go a lot more, like some of the other stuff went viral, that didn't, and I found that weird because that was wild how I started interviewing him and then I just ended up giving it to him. Anyways, all right, so let's pivot to the last thing I've got on my list here, which is what happened in Amsterdam. Bring the screen on, Benji. Someone wrote he caused their divorce. I don't think I made him divorce. Please don't put that on me, mate.
On people, Avi.
I'm going to avoid playing too much of the footage. I'm sure most of you have seen it. Let's see what this is. So yeah, I've just got to avoid it because I don't know.
Footage.
Yeah, I don't know what's going. But basically, for those of you that were on the internet, there were mobs of people in black. We watched this unfold live. I was tweeting a lot of it. So the good thing is on X, you can literally actually share stuff as it happens. But then some of the other platforms were running on now. It might block the feed and delist it or whatever. So I'm not going to play them. But on X, you can actually see them and you can look at my feed. We saw videos, like scary videos coming out of Amsterdam through the day where there were mobs literally calling out, "Are you Jewish? What is your background?" Checking people's passports and then bashing them if they were Jews. Like horrific stuff that you would not expect in 2024 in Europe, more like, 1934. And the usual suspects then, after people around the world were horrified, understandably, by it, the narrative was being flipped. It was being written, and you had Mehdi Hassan and the usual suspects propagating this story, which I think one of the guys that were there, he made a video to explain the narrative. So I want to watch that.
Assalamu alaikum, Ali here. Let me take you to Amsterdam and show you what really happened. So, behind me is where the Maccabi hooligans climbed a building and tore down the Palestinian flag. And here...
So the context here that matters is that obviously in Amsterdam there was an Israeli Maccabi, so Tel Aviv Maccabi team playing another European team, a team that is not anti-Israel. They're actually very friendly to Jews. So it wasn't a fight between two hooligan teams, okay? And there was a group of Maccabi players that shamefully were behaving not very nicely. But let's watch.
They attacked a cab driver and damaged his car with a bicycle chain. Broke it. On the day of the match, the Maccabi fans gathered here at the Dam Square. Pricked by the police, they chanted their insulting and racist slurs. Then they got a police escort and walked here towards Central Station. Just before taking the metro to the football stadium, the Maccabi fans chanted slurs like "Dead to the Arab, fuck Palestine," and the worst one, "There's no school in Gaza because all of the children are dead." Based on this, do you think there was an unjustified attack on Jewish people, or did the people from Amsterdam react to hooligans that attacked first and hurt your beautiful city? You decide, but don't forget...
So finally, the last footage he's showing is of the water where they were throwing in people that they hunted down that they found to be Jewish. Now, the thing that's wild to me about all this is that what you had, so let's say parts of that story is true. So you had some misbehaving football fans that had torn down a flag, chanted some stuff. I don't think it's exactly how he translates it, but they translated some racist stuff, and they were rowdy. Now, the whole thing with the cab driver, I don't know what we saw there. We saw somebody hitting a car.
Edited footage.
I don't know what actually happened there, but even pretend it's true. Let's pretend everything this great European citizen is trying to purport in his own words. Let's pretend everything's true. So the answer to that was for gangs, mobs, to hunt for random Jews and bash, rob, throw them into the whatever that is, the canals. And that's all cool. The Jews brought it on themselves. It wasn't like they got the mob. It wasn't. So the way that they're trying to present it, it was like just football hooligan violence. Well, firstly, it wasn't because they weren't different. It wasn't hooligans versus hooligans. It was them justifying going to target random Jews. And that is wild. And the fact that so many mainstream leftists jumped onto that narrative is crazy to me.
Yeah. I mean, if I look at it from like purely like that perspective that you put it, and to say like, let's say all the things that guy said is true, in Western countries, in Western society, it does not allow a mob to then, like you said, go looking for certain types of people to identify them based on racial traits or ethnic traits by looking for their passports or whatever to beat them up. That is not the type of society that we want to live in. Everyone else that lives in Amsterdam or around the West. So it is a flawed way of thinking, and it shows you that there may be a lack of integration when these people come to these countries to understand the values of these countries. The type of things that he's describing is something that you can see perhaps, on a Sunday or a Saturday in Melbourne during protests where people are burning flags, chanting Israel, chanting, offensive terms. And we don't see members of, for instance, if I saw members of the Jewish community going in there, rounding people up.
Not even there.
Passports.
So,
so
the equivalent would be if gangs of Jews then went marching across Melbourne streets looking for Muslims and doing that to them. Because for a year...
We don't accept that.
We don't need to make that comparison. We don't need to. Do you know, we had the Cronulla riots. That wasn't that long ago. It was over a decade ago. And the arguments that they use, that these activists on the left and in the Palestinian movement use, like you both said, could be easily turned against them and weaponized against them. And we saw that in the Cronulla riots. We saw that the justification, there was no justification for targeting Muslims, but the justification that these rednecks used to target random Muslims on Cronulla Beach was because they felt that certain renegade Muslims were harassing their people on, Australians on the beach. So they use that to justify an attack and bash random Muslims.
I see people, come Australia Day, I see people burning the Australian flag. Now, I'm offended by that, but that doesn't give me the right to go attack them and hunt them down and beat them up. That is a type of society that we live in that allows for certain things to happen. And yes, some of these actions and words might be hurtful, and but doesn't excuse this type of behavior. And the fact that they talk so high and mighty, like this is our right to defend these things and attack people in these countries. No, it's actually not. These kind of foreign value, these ethnic conflicts. I keep coming back to this. They're foreign to the type of peaceful society that we want to live in countries in the West. I don't know about Amsterdam, but in Australia, it's foreign. I don't want this crap here. I don't care that this person did something and it offended you, so I'm going to go do these things that we do back home in the Middle East. No, that's not how it works in Australia. If you want to go do that stuff, go fight your battle in the Middle East. Like, get out of here, right? That's the kind of attitude that we need to have.
Absolutely. When leading activists in the Palestine movement, led by Free Palestine Printing, when they're openly gloating and celebrating the attacks on the Israelis in Amsterdam, I was actually glad that they were doing that, because what they were doing was that they were showing people once again their true colors. They were showing people, the world, that they are in fact a violent movement. They're not peaceful.
And like I said, imagine even if everything he said is true, which it isn't. There's certainly many holes in parts of that story, but even if it is all true, then that means that violence against Muslims because of the behavior of the pro-Palestine protesters over the last year, with any single protest in which they burn an Israeli flag, when they call for the river to the...
Let's say Avi, that they go to the Christmas windows at Maya and they do the protest. Does that mean that Aussies can turn up and just start beating up Muslims and hunting them down? No, exactly. That's not how it works. I'm sorry.
And another good point another good point the comments are making here is that it did come out that a lot of it was premeditated from before even those things allegedly happened.
There were probably state actors involved as well, like Iran.
Yeah. So I dare say that it was. Look, it's insane to me how many people fall for those narratives. I think people need to wake up to what the real threat is, and it's coming. And it's easy to sit back and blame, to fall for these little cute videos in which but if you don't stand up now to this, it's going to come for you next. If you're sitting at home and justifying violence against one group because you happen to disagree with them, well, nobody's going to be left there to talk to. And it's interesting because right after that, what have we got here? Right after that, go to share screen. Once the Jews all left, once all the Jews escaped. Exactly my point. They went for the Dutch next. So, and I think that's a warning here in Australia as well. If you ignore this kind of behaviour and you blame the targets, the victims of the violence, don't be surprised when they turn on you. And that's what's going to happen.
You know, just a side point, this attack on the Israelis is now leading the government in the Netherlands with Geert Wilders and the Prime Minister looking to deport, cancel, revoke the citizenship of the perpetrators that were involved and deport them. So at the end of the day, when these leftists and these Palestinian organizations are celebrating and gloating over the attacks of the Israelis, what are they actually celebrating? Are they celebrating their own demise? Is that what they want at the end of the day?
Yep. Gert's a good guy. I've known him for many years. And I guess he is the only hope the Netherlands actually have. When that did happen, there's 2 more videos on my list here. My boss Ezra Levant rushed to Amsterdam to cover it, and there was just an interesting little interview that he had with one of the protesters. Have a listen.
You know what? I'm still trying to figure out these Dutch police. I'm trying to figure them out.
Hamas is part of the people, so you cannot destroy Hamas because it's part of the people.
So you support Hamas?
I support. You know what? The Dutch has been occupied for 4 years here by the Germans.
Almost 5, yeah.
Yeah, almost 5. Let's say 5 years. When we would not have been freed and the occupation would have stayed on for 70 years or more, then we also would have to fight against the Germans.
So the Jews are like the Nazis, is what you're saying in your analogy?
I'm not saying the Jews. I'm saying the Hamas are a freedom organization. They are freeing themselves.
So you're saying Hamas are like the Jews and Hamas, Israel is like the Nazis?
No, that's I'm not saying. I'm saying Hamas is a liberation movement.
And how about a woman like you who's uncovered? Would you be liberated if you were in Gaza? How are women treated? How are gays treated?
That has nothing to do with this war.
You said they were a liberation movement.
Yes, has nothing to do with your religion.
How about gay people? What's it like being gay in Gaza? Is it easy?
Being gay in Gaza? I don't know.
You don't know? I think you do know. You just won't say it.
No, I don't know. I mean, there are lots of people. It's a religious thing. So people who are religious, there are some people who are following very fundamental religion.
Well, they murder gays. Can you bring yourself to say that, or
the other side, Christians are against gays.
Do they murder gays?
Christians are against gays. In African Christian countries, gays are murdered.
Really, like which country?
Gays. I think perhaps I don't know. No, Israel is.
You're making things up again, aren't you?
But you know what? The problem is that problem that you see over there in Amsterdam, where literally there were mobs taking over their streets, rioting, attacking first the Jews, then went after the Dutch. But it's the useful idiots there, it's the useful idiots here that allow it to happen.
Yeah, 100%, man. I think we're walking into this. A lot of these issues we're seeing. I was just reading some comments about, the actions that are required to deal with this. I know in the US they have certain issues like this, and Trump's working on deportation and stuff. And in Australia and other countries, we're bringing in people that might not actually share some of these values, and that maybe some instances that's okay. You can teach them these values, but we're bringing them into societies where we don't want to teach them to assimilate into our culture as well. So I think that's why we're seeing this clash of, even people that should know better in Western countries supporting these causes when they have no idea in terms of how drastically bad it is for certain types of groups in other parts of the world. Like they're so switched off to it, right? And I'm not trying to be offensive, but it is a lot of these kind of white liberal women or elder women or these kind of groups that are all encompassing about the world is like an amazing place, and this diversity is great. We should import all these values from the rest of the world. No, I think we should cut it off at food and music. Okay, allow religious freedom, but there's so many things that we don't want to import from the rest of the world because the rest of the world's failed. The rest of the countries around the world have failed. That's why people come to countries like Australia. So we don't need to import the crap.
Food and music, I've got to agree.
Food and music, I'm happy with that. Food and music is fine.
Arab food
some
is
other
good.
Cultural aspects. Yeah, those things are great. Like we should import those things and enjoy it. Like that's good.
Israeli.
But there's lots of parts of different cultures, and not just Middle Eastern cultures, South Asian cultures, African cultures, and all this kind of stuff that we don't need in this country. And we should be able to proudly, openly reject them as being, rejected by Western values that we don't accept them here. And to live in these countries, you must accept our Western traditions because that's why these countries are great. We don't want your failed crap here. So that's my view on this. And I say this as a person of color to the woke lefties. If you get offended by this, I'm telling you, part of the world where I come from, for instance, there's things that happen which you don't want here. It's not all rosy and airy and fairy. People go through a lot of crap, and that's why people are here. So let's not bring that here. Is my opinion, my 2 cents on this.
I show today by telling you to go back to where you come from.
Well, that in itself is ridiculous. Like the amount of times that I've heard people tell you to go back to Israel. Or me to go back to Sri Lanka.
Anyways, let's talk about that next week with Pauline.
Okay. Yeah, because I want to sue a whole bunch of people. So let's go.
I'm gonna. If she loses her appeal, you and me. We're gonna take everyone. We're gonna take everyone. We're gonna take everyone to court. Every leftist that ever told me to go back to Israel. But can we make a deal? Because I've probably told you to go back to Pakistan.
We can't sue each other.
Yeah, no suing each other. I don't think you've ever told me to go back to Israel. You just told me to get away from you. Is that the same though?
I don't know. It could be in this new era that we live in.
On that,
no Palestinian activist ever told you to go back to Israel, Avi?
I would say so. Probably not. No. So Palestinians, Arabs, they'll tell me to go back to Europe, even though I'm from Yemen, because in their head in Al Jazeera they just say that every Israeli comes from Europe. Yeah, so even though it's the minority that are from Europe, but I have been told by leftists and also even pro Palestine, so anti-Israel activists to go back to Israel, which kind of seems confusing. But there's a list. I just have to. I guess I'll be searching Twitter and starting to collect my receipts for my fun lawsuit at the end of it. But no, I hope she really wins her appeal. We'll have a chat about it. We'll have a chat about it when she comes on next week. I want to thank, firstly, Leon for joining us tonight, sitting in for Pauline. You did promise me that you would put some, red in your beard or something to try.
I can do a nice impersonation of her. So.
Go on.
Thank you for having me on, guys.
We want an impersonation.
Please explain. I'm sorry to apologise to the audience. I know you had high expectations going in, and then you saw my ugly mug on the screens. But Pauline, as you said, will be on next week.
Where can people find you?
Coffee_time on X, so you can find me there. Best place.
Look at that. We covered his face.
That's a good way to end it, with his face covered.
With his face.
Don't see any more of Leon.
That's it.
Leon, no, seriously. Thank you again for joining us. And thank you to all of you who tuned in. Sorry about the late start, but we were thrown a little bit by the news that unfortunately Pauline was hit by that storm. Knocked out her power, and she's also now dealing with the flooding. So hopefully she sorts that all out. We're thinking about her tonight.
Thanks, guys. Have a sook, lefties. Have a sook. Bye.